Okay, that doesn't look too bad. A little grainy, I think. But anyway, when somebody shows up here, happy Mother's Day out there. We have another rainy, dreary Sunday. Whenever that happens, it means comic books, if you will. And that's why the lighting's all messed up. It's nothing but shades of gray out there. And, I don't like buy camera stuff to do this. So anyway, I'm kind of expecting everybody to be in church. Hey, what's up? Cayman X is out there. So the thing about Sundays is there's people out there that go to church. We have Mother's Day. I piled around and looked around on Facebook this morning. I saw there's a lot of people. We got two people in here, guys. Let me know how everything is looking. It looks a little fuzzy to me, but we're going to do the live show because I have a ton of comic books to show off that essentially came to 50 cents a piece. Some stuff from Antique Shop where this guy had just put stuff out for 50 cents a piece, a ton of comics, which surprised me. Looks like it was mostly 90 stuff. And then a couple of my buddies and I went down to Concord, North Carolina to a microcon. That looks actually pretty good. Okay, Warsmith Scotty says we look good. All right, guys. Now, as always, it's a Howler Mouse live show, so that means one of two things, if not both, will happen in the future here soon. I will get a call. I will get messages. Okay. Or the second thing is that the YouTube app will mess up my stream. It'll go dead for a little bit. Give me a message that it's the app, not me, not the internet, and it'll pick right up. So just hang in there if that happens here, right? But anyway, oh, a bit fuzzy, dude. Yeah, looks like I'm underwater with my eyes open. Okay, yeah, we're going to try to solve something with that here pretty soon. Crap. All right, let me try the lighting over here. Let me know if it gets worse or better, and then we'll get started. I'm going to adjust the light thing over here. Okay, see if that makes a. All right, maybe we were overexposed there. Looks exactly the same on my end. Exactly the same. Okay, guys. Well, anyway, what I might do is we'll do the live stream, then I'll go back. I'll probably do a real quick video showing the actual comics better for you guys, and we'll go on. But one of the first things I saw, which makes me laugh, is up here on the top shelf. I have to show them one day. I have a little bit of a DC, I don't know what you call them, Legends action figure collection of the Dark Knight Returns stuff, Sons of Batman, or Kelly, excuse me, the Carrie Kelly Robin, things like that for Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. But as I was wandering around Walmart looking for just your average, camping gear and hiking gear because it's becoming that kind of weather around here. I've had the same camping gear since 1993, and I'm like, I might want to upgrade. But I turned around and for 250, I saw this 12-inch Mr. Incredible figure. I'm like, how can you not? So basically, I'm gonna have to do a vote of do I open this bad boy or not? It's from The Incredibles Part Two. I love those films. The second one, for as long as they made us wait, I just don't know. So yeah, let me know if I should open that, and I'll probably put it on Facebook or Instagram too, and take a vote. I did that with the Joker figure I had, and it went really well. It was a lot of fun. Okay, so moving on to the comics, guys. One of the books that I put out there that I kind of recommend people to read, but you better have some tough skin, you better have some thick skin, and you probably won't have to read it once or twice because the artwork is so jarring and the writing really is unforgiving. Hey, thanks, man. Is really unforgiving. Scott Connor's out there. What's up, brother? Um, is martial law. I've talked about martial law. You can get an omnibus which has like 99.9% of the stories that have come out from since the 80s till a couple years ago. Martial law, bounced around from Epic Comics and Dark Horse Comics, Apocalypse Comics, places you never heard of. But now I have everything I'm going to get. There's only two cameos I'm missing. I'm not going to track down those books to have martial law on a cover or a panel, right? But this is the Dark Knight 2-issue miniseries, which I know you're probably going to have problems seeing. But I finally found issue number 2, all right? And this is called the Secret Tribunal. Now, what's cool about this is that Marshall Hunter is an actual bounty hunter slash cop who hates heroes. He's a heroes hunter because heroes are hypocritical and bad and everything like that. and they'll take archetypes and thinly disguised concepts of your heroes. You'll know who the Batman is, you'll know who the Superman is, you know who the Captain America is. But at the same time, this has like a lot of sexual overtones on it with bondage and sexuality and stuff like that. But it's all done in a way to where that part's not overwhelming. It's just the art really comes at you. But this is fantastic because it has like Doom Patrol, Legion of Superheroes, Alien, The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, if you will, Predator, and it wraps them all up into like this wicked little space story there with a little bit of Golden Age Superboy thrown in there and Silver Age Superboy with the Legion and stuff, right? It really plays around with some concepts and stuff. Now, by no means do I think this is the greatest martial law miniseries, these two issues here and stuff like that, but they were fun. Okay, you know, so not a lot of martial law books out there. Not really hard to. Well, some of them are kind of hard to track down more than others, but they're pretty cheap when you find them. Okay. So one of the books that grabbed me when I actually started considering myself and using the word collector when I was like 9 years old, 10 or something like that. There's a lot going on by memory here, right? You had the Justice League of America like 207, 209 come out where it crossed over with All Star Squadron. Been reading some more comics from Europe, Japan, and British comics. Cayman X, I highly recommend European comics. I have been dabbling in them over the last year when I can find them. And like I said, for the people joining, I know we got some quality. There it is. I know we have some quality issues here, so I'll be shooting a separate video to show off the books where you can just see the books and talk about them. But anyway, back when I was like 9, this is like 1982 ish, like that. It's actually where I kind of looked around my room and realized that I had, accumulated books. I had little stacks here and magazines and stuff. Whatever my stepdad and uncle left around the house, I kind of put with my stuff. This is when I was keeping books like Werewolf by Night number 32, the first appearance of the Moon Knight, and I had all these books floating around, things you just had no idea would be worth money and stuff. I had them like in corners of the room, and if it was a Kirby thing, I was just sort of coming out of the fact that I could leave Kirby books in face up and still be able to sleep. But one of the books that blew me away, and it's probably the first time I think I really noticed George Perez, if you will. And this book also, I mean, this is an upgrade. I've got 2 or 3 of them now, including the original I read back in the day. But one of the books I got that was, it actually has the same plot as the first Terminator movie. This came out a whole year before the movie was released, right? But it's DC Comics Presents number 61. I think it's Len Wein. And George Perez doing a Superman versus OMAC, meets OMAC. And it is a time travel story. OMAC comes back in time, and there is a killer robot, and the robot is also trying to kill a descendant of Buddy Blank, who is OMAC. So there will never be a Buddy Blank. It's amazing. It was funny. So when I got to see Terminator about a year later, I'm sitting there just scratching my head like, this familiar, and it took like zero point 0.3 seconds for me to realize. I was like, that's that OMAC story with that George Perez dude. This was around the time where George Perez was getting that hyper realistic style just nailed, and his inks and his shadows were getting played with and stuff. I love seeing George Perez tackle Kirby characters, period, because their styles are so different. You know what I mean? One is super exaggerated and expressionism, and the other one is like close to photorealistic, like it was back then. No Alex Ross, mind you, but you get what I'm saying. So this is one of those favorite books from the childhood. I had the original. I bought an upgrade, and then how could I pass this up for 50 cents, right? But this is a fun, solid story. But this is also when George Perez, his artwork from 80 to about all the way up to Crisis just got better from leaps and bounds, by leaps and bounds. And this is when he was drawing really small. I think the big criticism that people had about Perez was that he drew, everything in the panels very small. Yeah, if he loves drawing, he crams a lot in there, right? Where do I go from here, right? So a few things that I found that was amazing. One of my favorite books, I always talk about Starman from the 90s, James Robinson's Starman. There's another book on the side by Garth Ennis that I sort of collected, and I think I need 4 issues to have the complete set. But there's a few other appearances of this character I try to find, but it was Garth Ennis's Hitman. Now, what's wild is that I'm convinced Hitman has a bit of a cult following, or maybe it's a Garth Ennis thing where people are completist about Garth, with his writings. He did Preacher. That's where he became the superstar, let's face it. So I'm thinking, maybe it's not so much the character, but maybe it's the Garth Ennis fans just completing things. But I ended up picking up. So these are kind of hard to find in the wild. They don't cost anything when you find them. But there was a two-part story of Resurrection Man starring Hitman. So now I finally have these. Easy peasy. And then there's like a whole bunch of one shots that were coming out from DC from the late 90s into the early 2000s. Maybe they still do them, but they were like Secret Files and Origins, right? And each one had a different theme, right? Well, this one's the Secret Files and Origins of DC Universe, and it has, as you see, different stories in there by different creators. And we have Hitman in there, okay? Hitman is just one of those books I thoroughly enjoy. It's a toned down Garth Ennis, but it's still clever. It's not racy, and it still has some stuff in there where you just kind of shake your head and maybe you'll feel like you need to take a shower. Love George Perez paneling. I love the way he can efficiently tell a story in a few pages with a good layout. Yeah. George Perez is just he's a rare breed, man. He is a rare breed. Now I'm always completing Legion runs with the Legion of Superheroes. Now that definitely goes back to the childhood there of liking the Legion. I've said many times before, my favorite era of the Legion is always going to be that Silver Age stuff. With Kurt Swan, things that I found in those Adventure Comics Digest of the early '80s up to about '83. They would reprint two Silver Age stories of the Legion with every issue. And it was because like it was everything kids. They acted like kids when they were teenagers. They had their little rules and their little clubhouse, and everybody hung out and stuff, right? And they were tight. But amazingly enough, for it to be a comic in the Silver Age, it really had a dark turn to it. Characters would die. They talked about murder. Just some really dark stuff that offset it very well. So I found a few Legion books. I mean, I'm just always picking these up, and some runs. I mean, this one series I may never complete, but that's all right. But the Legionnaires, where we got a bit of our nostalgia back with the characters, you know, um, because this took place in the 5 years after World, where we had our grown-up Legion, and they didn't wear the costumes, and everybody went by their real names, not their superhero names. And then we found these clones of the Silver Age Legion in a cave or something, and they never really committed to who were the clones and who were the real Legion. They were sort of giving you the idea that the Silver Age version that they found were the real Legion. But then we would get into the whole Spider-Man Ben Riley thing all over again. Like, did we have 150? Did we have like 25, 30 years of Spider-Man comics that had nothing to do with Peter Parker? Who knows? And now one of the things that really bumped the Legion up, and I completely think it's the creative team of DNA, Abnett and Lanning, guys who did Guardians of the Galaxy and a few things like that. But they came on, they did this 12 issue miniseries of Legion Lost. They finished out a couple of the three boot Legion books of the late '90s, all that stuff. And they came out with a miniseries, 5 of 12, which was Legion Lost, where they did a Star Trek Discovery thing with the Legion. A couple members of the Legion ended up on the other side of the universe, and them trying to get back and stuff. Right, highly acclaimed, hard to find in the wild complete, and people still talk about this. Now, that is what I like about the Legion when it comes to comic books and stuff. You can talk all day long about Wolverine and the big characters, Spider-Man, and all the stuff. That the Legion has always had its own little subculture of fans. Help me out. In the 40s to 60s was the golden age. 60s, 80s was the silver age. 80s to 2000s was the Bronze Age. Then when will it be the 20s to 2000s? Well, you got some of your dates wrong on what the Golden Age and the Silver Age is. Um, what thing I've heard the modern age of comics called quite a few things. Yeah, platinum, golds. There's a period there. Okay, I read the Silver Age Legion. I'm about to get to Shooter. Shooter stuff is really good. Hey, Charleston 66 is there. Hey, what's up? And the age time forgot. But in the 50s, there's a thing called the Atomic Age. It's not official, but people who are into comics know what it is. It's that weird twilight period in the 50s of like horror comics, crime comics, romance comics, things like that. Silver Age started in 58, DC Showcase number 4. And then there's talk about when did it really end. Some people say it was the death of Gwen Stacy. That's the popular one. So I'm one of those people that if I was in charge, I would say it would be the debut of Conan number 1, Conan the Barbarian number 1. And there are people who are really into it. These are the These are the, I mean, if there was a collector's, if there's a way to categorize collectors, these guys would be the dark net, people who are really into the trivia and panels of the Silver Age and stuff like that, who considered when Snapper Carr betrayed the Legion thanks to the Joker. Conan number one, the Crom Age. Yes, that's what I'm saying. The Age of Time Forgot. So then the Bronze Age lasted from, we'll say, 73 to, a lot of people agree with, Crisis. I'm one of the people that believes it ended in 1985 with the death of the Flash. Silver Age started with the birth of Barry Allen Flash, and to me, it ended when Flash died. Bookend, but it's one of those things. But the modern age, it's had a couple of names. I'm not going to throw them out there because to me, there's nothing really official. So a lot of people say the new age started with the debut of Image. You know, Okay, then how long is the modern age? Again, we're in the modern age, so I don't know who makes the decisions. There's no committee there. You know what I mean? But a lot of people do it. But for me, I would say the modern age of comics probably started with Avengers Disassembled because that's when Marvel fell to pieces. When Bendis got on the Avenger books. I mean, I could sit down and talk to other collectors about this and they could change my mind and bring up other areas. But I definitely feel like there's a bookend closing for an age and another to begin with Avengers Disassembled or Justice League versus the Avengers. That's like a bookend for the real Marvel to me. But yeah, nothing simple is in collected, man. That's why things are discussed and collectors talk and there's conventions and stuff. Who makes the final decision? I don't know. So it didn't start after 1985. I don't know. I don't know. There were so many events that happened. Watchmen Dark Knight came out, and that definitely started a new age. Then you had the Image comics, 92 and the 90s boom and how it got sucked in. The decline of Marvel, in my opinion, on their continuity. Uh, 52 comics, 52, the DC 52 started. You have certain events where the comics, went up and down. And you've had a lot of fans leave. Hey, what's up, Rob Ripa? But that actually is a good topic for another video about the ages of comics and what are they and when did they really start. So anyway, come up here. We're talking about Abnett and Lanning with their Legion Lost books. Oh, here we go. 30s to 40s Golden Age, maybe late 60s to 70s. This is debated. This is why I'm not. Yeah, people are starting talking about the ages of comics. That would be a good live stream video to jump in there, man. I want to get through these comics, man. I might do another one today. But Abnett and Lanning ended up. Then why not categorize it based on time frame rather than based on events? Well, that's just it. It is based off of events. There has to be a book that everybody can identify that something happened. You know what I mean? That's got to be the start in the middle. The people do it by years, so you know that all comics that happen between this event and this event, the bookends, if you will, everything in between that is part of that age. Yeah, everybody's talking about that now, right? But Abnett and Lanning, anyway, after they did their Legion Lost 12 issue miniseries, came out with the Legion of Superheroes books. And this book lasted probably about 3.5 years. I think the Abnett Lanning team lasted, I don't know, the first 30 some issues or something. But this book got really good. They brought in the modern Superboy of Con-El, and played around with some concepts. Really good stuff. They brought in Ra's al Ghul. It was more grounded in the DC universe and really was able to bridge, the 1,000 years separating the Legion timeline and universe with the modern, you know, uh, DC line, which was always kind of fun. So those were good. Now, something I picked up just for the artwork because I think it's Larry Stroman, but this book was of the 90s. This book is one of those books that I don't understand why it probably didn't really take off because it had some great artists on it. Travis Charest, Larry Stroman. It was during the age of the image books we were talking about in the day. But we had a new sheriff in town in the universe, if you will. Green Lantern Corps was kind of recognized as the Guardians of the Galaxy had them in sectors, and they were sort of like the cops. Then we had the Legion come out. Legion 89 and 90 start up, deciding they were going to be kind of like cops for hire. You know what I mean? But then also we had the Dark Stars come up. Now the thing about the Dark Stars, if I remember this right, is that you really have to go back into the history of DC. The Guardians of the Galaxy made the Manhunters. The Manhunters went nuts, so they created Green Lantern Corps. Manhunters were robots. Dark Stars rocked. There you go, Charleston 66. All right. So, but there was an offshoot. You have currently reading 1010 comics and Rinko manga. Have you read 1010? I read a little bit of 1010. Not popular here in the states, nor is it easy to find. When you do find it, it's expensive because it's like an imported trade, if you will, right? But I have read some 1010. Totally get it. Highly recommended and underrated. Yes, yes, Charleston 66. But what happened was, is the Guardians of the Galaxy, uh, old Bill Beans, 1010 is good stuff. Yes, but the Guardians of the Galaxy made the Green Lantern Corps, right? And then all the females shot off, went to their own place, and I think it's where the Star Sapphires came from. That might have been a retcon history, I don't know. But there was another offshoot of the Guardians of the Galaxy who became the Controllers, and they popped up, and they did their own version of their police force, if you will, as the Guardians, and became the Dark Stars, right? And they pulled in Troya, Donna Troy from the Titans, Larry Strawman, Travis Charest, cool character designs, things like that. And it was one of those books where, you know, I would really like to have seen it stick around a little bit. I read just a bit of them, but they always kind of stayed in their little corner. They didn't. I could go on and on about how I think they should have interacted more, right? One of the things I have a complete set of All Star Squadron, so I'm at that point where I'm upgrading an issue or two. I'm missing issue 13. I don't know where that went, but I'll have to find it. But the Jerry Ordway art from '83, I think this is '82 or '83. Roy Thomas came on, and the magic about All Star Squadron is Roy Thomas is one of us, right? Comic book collector. He would go around and he has this amazing collection of golden age comics that he collected on his own before he even got in the business. You know what I mean? And what he was able to do with this book was write stories of these golden age heroes from all the properties DC had acquired over the years from companies that weren't even there in the 40s. Hey, Discovery Bay Comics, what's going on? And he gives you notes and stuff in the back, how he ties all of those characters and all those Golden Age comics and makes this loose continuity in All Star Squadron. He pulls from Golden Age books and sort of has the events go on. Yes, All Star Squadron is one of my favorites, right, of all time, right? And of course, this book got blown out of hell thanks to Crisis on Infinite Earths. He came out with the Young All Stars trying to kind of fix things. But anyway, it takes Golden Age characters that you never heard of, really elevates them. And I wanted, a lot of people who read All Star Squadron are kind of all right with James Robinson doing the Golden Age, where we got to get an update on these heroes from the 50s. So if you're in the All Star Squadron, definitely check out the Golden Age Justice Society of America miniseries. This is a hardback that James Robinson did, and that thus led to Starman of the 90s, one of my favorite books. Excuse me, guys, I've got Superman trying to put the moves on me. Not that there's anything wrong with that. All-Star Squadron, those are books I appreciate. Let's see what's going on here, man. My mouth's not working. Let me get a little coffee. All-Star Squadron is one of those books I didn't appreciate when it came out, but now I love it. The Golden Age is a classic. Yes, yes, brother. That's right. All right, so one of the books that have gone back, because this just wasn't available on the stand, Legion 89 came out at a time where, it came out, I was like a senior in high school. It was a Drake Market only book, so that means, back in high school, getting 60 miles to a comic book shop was just, an all day event, back in the day. So there's no way to get this book monthly. I would see ads, there would be crossovers, and you'd see continued in Legion. I was a Keith Giffen fan. Lobo had moved over there from the books on the spinner racks that I'd seen. So I didn't really get into it, but it always seemed to survive. Been meaning to read All Star Squadron. I love All Star Squadron. Love it. But I really think the first 50 issues are it. Then it goes like it's from 50 to probably like, I don't know what it was, almost to the 60th issue. It was all Star all Crisis on Infinite Earth crossovers and stuff. My favorite issues of All Star Squadron are in the early 30s because the All Star Squadron ends up traveling to Earth S, and you see the Golden Age Superman take on the Golden Age Captain Marvel. Marvel fan. Hitler got the Spear of Destiny, which is what kept all the heroes at bay. Anyway, it's a great book and stuff, right? But anyway, the Legion books, I'm kind of backing up and I'm reading some of these, right, as they come out. I had an issue here and there from a Walden bookstore, but I didn't know what was going on. Uh, for when this book came out, I think it was really ahead of its time, right? It didn't insult the readers. It didn't really give you a recap of what was going on. Turns out I couldn't figure out what half the powers were for the heroes, and it turns out half of them didn't have it. Oh, I will not be disappointed. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Right. All Star Squadron will not disappoint you. So I've got some more Legion books. I think there were 70 issues of this, and I think I got 35 now. Right. And they were this was totally meant to kind of be an anchor in modern DC for the Legion of the Future. Been reading Marvel Wolfman's Vigilante comic. I've heard great things. I passed up number one a couple times, so I hope I don't regret that. But they were doing things where we get to see what did they end up calling him? It was so funny, Largand or something like that. But it was Mon-El, the Daxmite, who thought he was Superboy's brother, named him Mon-El because he was found on a Monday, you know, and the last name El, like Kal-El, things like that. He ended up getting lead poisoning, and they couldn't cure it, so he stayed in the Phantom Zone for 1,000 years till Brainiac was able to cure him of the Brainiac 5 was able to cure him of the lead poisoning. Oh, good stuff. I have them professionally bound. Awesome. Awesome. I think we're talking about the Vigilante comics. I'll definitely check them out. So there's a lot of fun with this. This turns out to be an ancestor of Brainiac 5. This would be Brainiac 2, if you will. And he's a bit of a fascist, if you will. And all these characters that hate him and scorn him and stuff. They really get some good sci-fi elements in this book. Much better than the Omega Man of the 80s, if you will, in my opinion. And one of my favorite issues in the whole issue of her having Stealth here having his baby, and it's a brutal birth, man. Only a very sci-fi, brutal, gross birth and stuff, right? Of course, what was one of the things that got me is I don't know which issue it is in particular, but you would hear about Lobo having this power as a cesarean. I don't know if power would be the word, but for every drop of blood you spill on him, another one of him would grow from that drop of blood. And I finally, flipping through some of the issues I got a couple months ago, I saw the panel where there was an army of Lobos going after somebody. Good stuff. All right, now we're back to the 50-cent stuff. These are a little bit musty. I've been working on them. We got your Batman stuff here. These were 50 cents a piece from an antique shop. Ollie's recently had a Vigilante trade with the first 11 issues. I recommend picking it up. I hit every Ollie's that I can find. If I see that, I will definitely pick it up. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on this shelf right here and another shelf down there. I ended up getting, I think I counted it up. I think over the last year, I've ended up picking up something like 60 to 72 books from Ollie's. And it's good stuff, man. So I'm always keeping an eye out. Omnibuses and just all kinds of stuff from them. All right. So a lot of these are one shot. Shadow of the Bat, number 39 from 1995. Solomon Grundy. The 90 to 95 was a weird time for me to be collecting comic books. I still was able to do it, but that was between military, hitchhiking for 9 months because I wanted to be like Mark. Feel like I was in a Mark Twain book with Forrest Gump, a mix, all this stuff. But anyway, this is a one-shot Solomon Grundy story. Solomon Grundy is one of my favorite characters that I really can't tell you why. I just like the whole idea of you know a creature that comes out of the swamp and just recites a children's story all the time. Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday. Tim, I don't think I ever asked, but who's your favorite from the Legion? Ultra Boy. I always had a thing about Ultra Boy in the Legion. I always liked the whole concept of Ultra Boy, and he had a girlfriend, Phantom Girl. Ultra Boy to me felt like the rebel without a cause in that book. He seems slightly damaged, like he had a rough childhood, and he ran away to join the circus, but he ran away to join space pirates. He had that pulp boy fantasy feel to him. You always felt like he was just misunderstood in a way. I mean, it was really cool. And then he grows up and he has the powers that are one at a time, and he hangs out with Mon-El and Superboy because they're the most powerful Superboys. He was somebody who was definitely a clone of Superboy, and he escaped being in that shadow and became his own thing. There's just one of the things I always thought he was just cool. I mean, he had that whole background he had and stuff when I was reading him when I was a kid. Just good stuff. I always pick up Matt Wagner stuff, especially if he does Batman. Matt Wagner is probably one of the people that can actually get by doing his own version of Batman. Matt Wagner did a Batman Grendel crossover. I've got some kind of Trinity miniseries around here in a hardback he did. And Matt Wagner really gets by to me with having his own style. I feel like he could do his own Batman universe. And it's not highly acclaimed. Not a lot of people jump on there and talk about his style, what he brings to them. But I really dig what he does when he gets on Batman in that Batman universe. So here's Batman Legends of the Dark Knight 28 through 30. He did a three-part story apparently with this. I loved Ultra Boy's Silver Age costume and power. Okay, cool. Yeah, Ultra Boy was cool, man. But like I said, I always like there's a darkness and a pulpy feel that Matt Wagner brings to it. You know what I mean? He there's been some images of Robin that he's done and stuff to me that just kind of fits in with classics. Like I can see it with Zorro, Robin Hood, King Arthur. There's a storytelling quality to it that he brings into it, an iconic image that's kind of retro. Good stuff here. And he draws some great action and pulpy stuff. He gives it that. He makes it feel like it's 1940s in the Batman universe, even though it's not. Kind of like, probably kind of like the animated series tune before. He was doing it before that tune came out. All right. Then we got a one shot here, an annual 1991 with Denny O'Neil, Jim Aparo, Keith Giffen, Joe Quesada, Spiegel, Tom Lyle, Jones III, Mike Golden, Templeton has a Mike Magnolia cover on it, but it's an annual. What number is it? What annual? I don't see an annual number, but it's the annual from 1991. Keith Pollard rocked the art with the Vigilante. Keith made it. Thanks for the heads up. 30 minutes later, Paulo, what's up, man? YouTube let him know 30 minutes later. Paulo, no, don't fret. The comics I'm showing, I will definitely do another video to just to record it so I can show off the books. I saw Sandman Mystery Theater in there, yeah. But Keith Pollard is one of the most underrated freaking artists ever, man. That dude was on Justice League, Fantastic Four. I think he did some Hulk, and he was just so fantastic and a great storyteller and stuff, right? Um, I always loved knowing that Keith Pollard was getting work on a book. Hey, Paulo. Here we go. Dinky Dot. Sandman Mystery Theater was great. If you can find the trades, they're awesome. I've started a collection of the Sandman Mystery Theaters. The only issue I really got to read back in the day was the one where it crossed over with Neil Gaiman's Sandman. The Sandman Mystery Theater one shot. I have that. Keith Pollard did Marvel Wolfman's Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, Keith Pollard. Russo. What was that guy's name? That's going to kill me now. He was the dude that drew Ross Andrew. Wasn't he the one that designed the Black Cat? I think he did. I think he did. Just because that was a Marvel Wolfman creation. But Keith Pollard and Ross Andrew, two of the most underrated artists in my opinion ever. They were reliable. They put out a ton of work. They were on big books, big projects, and somehow they never became a superstar. Now, what I understand about Keith Pollard is that he is still active as an artist, and he's moved on to bigger and better things. So I don't know. Guy Davis was brilliant on Sandman Mystery Theater. Yeah, Guy Davis. I know people that can't stand his stuff, and I'm like, it's perfect. It's moody. He's one of those artists that you see his style and you know it's him. It's almost like he's a throwback to where your artistic style was your signature. You know what I mean? Before all the artists started signing their name. Too bad Guy has left the comic book industry. Well, they should have loved him when they had him. I don't blame him one bit. You know what I mean? BPRD. I'm not quite sure why he left, but my head just jumped to a lot of people criticizing his work when it was fantastic. I mean, he has his fans. I've heard. I just don't think the fans were loud enough at the time. So wherever he left, I hope it's bigger and better things. And then I have another Mike Magnolia. These are before Hellboy hit. Oh, Scott's going to tell me why later. Gotcha, brother. Um, Mike Magnolia one shot in Legends of the Dark Knight here. See, this is 93. This is probably right before Hellboy came out, if not right when it did. Yeah. So, yeah, I love finding these Mike Magnolia books and stuff that he did right before he broke big with Hellboy. Yeah. Yes, the gang is all here. Awesome, man. All right, some of the things I picked up, I have two of these and stuff. I got an Ashcan comic. To me, Barry Windsor Smith, I don't know what happened in the early 90s, but the man was a beast. The Magnolia and the PC Dark Knight arcs were good. Yes, they were. One of Magnolia's underrated books, I think was the Batman Hellboy Starman crossover. PCR, Craig Russell books. Yeah, I got you. But this is a root. This is a Barry Windsor Smith Ashcan. I bought two of these. Oh, here we go. I finished my Sandman mystery run last year. It's phenomenal. Put on some old jazz music or leave Turner Classic Movies right on there, and it's in the mood. Yeah, that Sandman mystery theater books. God, what have I read? First four, and then I read a story arc here and there. Then I read The Mist. It was bits and pieces here and there. It was fantastic. Sandman Mystery Theater was good stuff. Yeah, I should have. Why I didn't jump on that book in the '90s, I'll never know. It crossed over with Neil Gaiman's Sandman in a one shot, and then it crossed over with Robinson's Starman in the early '20s, issues of the '20s and stuff. I think I had that Rune Ashcan, one of the only Ultraverse comics I own. Yeah, King Ragnarok said that. So I have two of these Ashcan, but I don't know what was going on with Barry Windsor Smith. I mean, he was a beast in the early '90s. Valiant. He went to Valiant Comics. He was doing Rune, this vampire thing. He actually returned to Conan for a one shot where he did a Rune Conan story. He put out his gigantic tabloid storyteller books. I mean, he was just everywhere, just knocking it out on the indie scene and stuff. I think it actually really probably started in the late '80s, early '90s when he did that Weapon X story in Marvel Comics Presents. You know, it was like when people woke up to him. I found him in Epic Comics, and then I didn't realize that he was a Conan artist that I had read in the tabloid editions, Marvel Treasury editions, reprints, stuff like that. His style had just went so far from where he started out, being made to draw like Kirby and stuff in the '60s and stuff. All right, some of the things that are also found. I mean, we're getting a little bit of '90s nostalgia now, man. But before internet and when things were kind of fun and stuff, you could get Wizard magazines, and then Hero came out. This is where you got your interviews and your news. And this is one of the things why I'm able to remember interviews with Alan Moore and things because this has Alan Moore in it. Storyteller was gorgeous. Yes, I have I have one issue now, and I will be tracking the rest of those down. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. But Rune, going back to Rune was a great book when Winslow Smith was on it. Hero was a better magazine. I'm kind of tending to agree. You know, this one is still sealed. It's the middle of the Ultraverse. That's Prime on the cover. We got Alan Moore stuff in here. The Alan Moore, Jim Starlin, Alan Moore, um, Mark Schultz, Art Adams, Peter David, all in this book, probably getting interviewed or showing off their stuff. And then you get these little, they would seal them up, not only just because, they didn't want you to read them in the store, but you would get extras in here. You get little cards for card sets that were going to be coming out. That's a Harbinger cover. I have a whole set of these Valiant books, Valiant comics. First couple years of the Ultraverse was great. Then Marvel bought them out and it went south. That was Marvel's plan. Don't let them fool you, allegedly. But you would get extra little one-shot comics you couldn't get anywhere else. Heroes definitely was better. The features were better researched and more detailed. Yeah, it felt actual journalism and stuff, right? And then, but the thing about it is that I will kind of take up for Wizard because Wizard started out being what Hero could have been, and then they just sort of went for the money, man. Comic scene, we hear comic scene was better. I did enjoy Hero, not as pretentious as Wizard. Yeah, there you go. Right. Um, well, here we go. I'm holding up a Wizard book. But like I said, if I had to do the Pepsi challenge here, I would go with Hero. But Wizard really went for, how can I say this? Wizard really went for the money, if you will. Comics Buyer's Guide was the best. Yes, all these magazines we could talk about where you got your news and stuff, man. It wasn't just about the clicks and stuff. But, extras, I think Wizard beat him on the extras. Like here's, Ultra Force, number zero. You had your zero issues. They would actually get creators to, they had a deal where you could order zero issues in advance if you bought the comic and mailed it in, and they had cards and stuff. But Wizard did this thing to where they took what made their magazine cool and split it up. You had your gaming book, you had your cards book, you had your action figures book. Yeah, Charlton 66, the Comics Buyer's Guide was for me. Comics Buyer's Guide, I got a few, and I think I've told the story about how I knew a writer in the Comics Buyer's Guide and never knew it. He never mentioned it. All right, guys, and since we're talking about that, I'm going to skip over here. These were 50 cents a piece. Comics Interview. Now, I love this. The David Allen Kraft guy, that was his name. David Anthony Kraft. I got some collected editions. where he takes like the George Perez. He took every George Perez interview he did and made a collected edition of it. But this one's interviewing John Byrne in it and stuff, right? I love this book. Yeah, loved Comics Interview too. Comics Interview is the one where I really like it because they would get a theme every now and then for a month. Like the Crisis on Infinite Earth. Like they interviewed everything and everybody about Crisis Events before it came out. And that musty smell is almost gone. That's why I've kind of been leaving them out, right? Something I never heard about here, and I took a, I love kitchen sink comics. They were the closest thing that always felt underground as you could be. Yes, yeah, the Comics Journal has some really good extended interviews. Yes, I got two, three, like I said, the bound editions that the craft dude came out of George Perez and somebody else, and I studied that. I mean, I loved it. But anyway, Kitchen Sink Press is one of the things that felt like underground comics when they were gone. I don't know if I would recommend this. Book collections of the interviews would be great for posterity's sake. Yeah, they're out there. They're out there, Paulo. They are out there. I might show them in a video. I might jump over there. They're right on that shelf. But anyway, whatever this was, I'll grab a kitchen sink comic. These were not available or, readily available as I was growing up, not in back issues or anything. I really didn't see kitchen sink comics till around the Crow movie when it came out. Right, so this one's called Steven. This is part of a three-issue series, and this thing is hilarious in my opinion, man. It's like somebody who was sort of Crumb-like, if you will, came up with this character Steven, who's like a mean little kid, and he just did a bunch of this thing reads like a collected comic strip collection, like that you would find in newspapers and stuff. I mean, it's hilarious. And it's like I said, I don't know if I would, I don't know if I would recommend this to people unless you knew what underground comics was. I mean, this is sort of tame compared to like Crumb and stuff, but every now and then there's been a few zingers in here. I'm definitely going to be looking this up, getting more, stuff with it. I thought it was hilarious, just so funny, and so raw. It's raw. That's the way it is. Yeah. It's like ODB. He likes it raw. Okay, guys. So one of the only arcs of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I really want. I had the first issue of Steven. Nice, nice there. Nice, brother. Okay, somebody else has heard of Steven. Love it. But the Turtles, I was there when the Turtles came out. I started hearing the buzz. You started hearing about the back issues. You started hearing about these Turtles thing. I was so confused when the Saturday morning cartoon show came out because it was a bloody comic, if you will, right? I have a few issues here and there. But my turtles are exactly where I found them and always will be. The girl I'm dating is a huge turtles fan. Believe it or not, she grew up with them. She can name them all. But to me, identify them. To me, they always had the same red sash. They are always the ninja that was underground and stuff like that. They're to me they're a beacon of the '80s. I flip through old Diamond's previews, checking out older indies like Dim-Witted Daryl and Poot. I'll check Steven out. Don't kill yourself on Steven, man. I'm telling you, man. It's either you like it or you won't. I dug it. I found it by accident. And I took a chance on it because it's 50 cents. But to me, my Turtles ended after this story arc, City at War. City at War was the 13-issue miniseries that started miniseries, maxi series stories with the ongoing title through Mirage. So to me, the first, what is that? That'd be 63 issues. To me, that's my Turtles, of this. They went on to be on Saturday morning TV shows. They ended up getting an Archie comic, which I have number one on. And it's all good stuff. There's nothing about the Turtles on to be putting down. Except maybe when Eric Larson took them over and decided to make them all different by having one scooped out of his shell and turned into a robot, and so on and so forth. Anyway, there's like one dark era of the Turtles, and it was nobody's fault for me. I'm not even going to slam the fact of Venus, bringing in the girl turtle Venus. Okay, maybe there's been a few things that's happened over the years, but anyway, to me, this was the City at War was the last pure Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story, if you will, proper. So, I always pick those up. This probably makes 4 or 5 issues of it that I have now. I think there was a trade I read early 2000s, finally got to read it. This storyline probably started back when I was in high school, I'm pretty sure. 1993. It was, I'm not, yeah. It started, and then I went to the military, never got to finish it. We'll just bottom line that because I could story tell all day. Now, this was a cool find, right? My tick stuff I saw in the late '80s. You saw on the back of your comic books, if you go and look, Tick for sale. New England Comics or somebody, you could sell them. You could buy them off the back of your comic books, order them and stuff, and it would say things like ninjas, tons of ninjas. Cool. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. I'm getting the messages. Let me let this go on by, guys. But anyway, but I never jumped on the Tick because they made it sound like a Frank Miller ripoff. There was even Oedipus. I mean, she even looked like Electra. So for years, I would hear about the Tick, and I was like, oh, it's just a Frank Miller ripoff, the way they made it sound, right? And then I saw the Saturday morning cartoon, and it was over. So I get on those back on those comic books, those little companies on that would buy advertisements and stuff. Yeah, Kid Ragnarok just said that he discovered the turtles through the cartoon, and he imagined his shock when he read the older books. I was like, yeah, I was the other way around. I got really lucky, and a friend of mine introduced me to the Tick really early. Yeah, Scott, I think I talked about this. Tom Bagley, Turtles and Tick. You're really itching my nostalgic spot now, and Madman and Flaming Carrot to that. They're on the shelf behind me, and there's a box over here. You want me to pull them out, man? Not a problem, man. It's what I do on here. Get that itch going here, right? But anyway, so the Tick cartoon came on, and I've been in love ever since. I mean love. I mean romantic family love for the Tick. I saw the cartoon turtles and I read the comics. A lot of people did that. Yeah, man. So when it comes to the Tick, so I got on there and I was able to get a few first editions and some color editions, and I started scanning back issue boxes trying to find anything. And to my surprise, there was like 11 issues of the Tick that had come out over the years. I'm not sure where Ben Edlund was when I finally jumped on whenever that cartoon came out. But and a lot of things I got were second editions or color reprints, and I had two or three that I still have them. I have two or three of the magazine's first prints. The Evil Midnight Bomber, What Bombs at Midnight, wouldn't get made today. I'd make it. Yeah, so, yeah, but you're right. I know what you're saying. But anyway, so I got this, and what was really bad is there was a few contests over the years, thanks to social media, with New England comic books where you could do something to maybe get a first print of the first appearance of the Tick and things like that. I lost, it's a pipe dream, no biggie. I'll scan eBay every now and then just for fun. But for 50 cents, my mouth dropped when I found issue number 5, first print, first edition. That's one of the things that makes the hobby for me awesome. Finding little treasures. The Red Scare from the Trick was beyond great. Yes, the cartoon didn't do the book justice, and they both were great, but the book was spot on or something like that. It's on its own level. Good deal for 50 cents. Awesome, man. Yeah. And inside of it, this is how I figured out it was a first print. There's an insert in here with Ben Edlund art. Yeah, yeah. Stuff from '88 by Ben Edlund when he was still in college and stuff. And we also got a few other things. So this first print also has some extras in it I didn't know were out there. Just fantastic stuff. That made me happy. Out of everything that I got, that was just fantastic, right? I mean, Ben Edlund, Kevin Smith back in the day, a little bit of Rodriguez doing his. Oh my God, I'm going blank here. Desperado. That was like just a good time. Yeah, I remember the cephalopoda story. Yeah, yeah, I got you. All right, so one of the things that I go back and forth of, am I going to collect all 300 issues or not? Because I'm so damn close. But when these are 15 cents, and most of the collection that I got were from anywhere from 17 cents when I would buy a bundle of comics to a dollar. The only issue I paid any money for was $5 for number one. Is Hellblazer, right? And I have to get this one, number 41. This is probably my second or third copy. Like I said, these were 50 cents, so I figured why not. Um, I would really recommend probably the first 100 issues of Hellblazer, and then after that, it's story arcs that are good, not consistently good to the last 300 issues. It starts becoming a matter of opinion of the stories. But I think the first Jimmy Delano, Garth Ennis, I think Milligan was on this and stuff, but they're pretty good. But this apparently Hellblazer number 41, Garth Ennis, first American comic. So I always pick this one up when I see it. Like I said, these were 50 cents, and then number issue 53. The Garth Ennis stuff, like I said, it hit so close to his Preacher run. People were kind of looking to see if he had left things in Hellblazer that could tie in to Preacher back in the day. So those books are kind of spotty. If you see the Ennis stuff, I say grab it. If it's cheap. One of the books that I wanted to go back and read back in the 80s, and J.M. DeMontes is still very proud of this book for what he did in it. So I'll pick them up because I love Sean McManus' art. Ever since he did that Swamp Thing book with Alan Moore as a fill in, I've always liked his art. But it's the Dr. Fate books. This is number 20 with Sean McManus on it and stuff. I pick these up when I see them. I'm not actively seeking them out. I found, I don't know, 7 or 8 issues in a bundle on eBay for like $1. So I got them. I looked up. Dark Side Apocalypse was in them. So yeah, this prestige format series from back in the day, whatever they want to call it here, direct market. I went ahead and got it. Any interest in Swamp Thing? Collect them now up to issue 71. Um, if you're talking about the 80s Swamp Thing, volume 2, if you will, the Alan Moore issues, followed by Rick Veitch and stuff. A lot of people love the Nancy Collins years too. I'm one of the few people. She did not impress me. I mean, really. I'll go back and give it another chance. But oh man, issue I don't know what is it, 19 up to at least 100. Grab them, I say, of that one. Anything else that's come around and stuff has never really grabbed me. So I'm not going to like shit on it. You know what I mean? But it's never really grabbed me because Alan Moore wrote the perfect comic in my opinion. I mean, when it comes to the perfect comic books runs and stuff, to me it goes Stanley, Jack Kirby, Fantastic Four, Swamp Thing, X Men, Titans. You know, I can go on down the line like that. When it comes to the iconic epic ones. All right. Just real quick, I always pick these up when I see them. Secret Wars. I have every issue of Secret Wars that I bought monthly off the freaking spinner rack back in the day. I love Secret Wars, and I hold firm that it's secretly the last great Doctor Doom story. I've said it in videos before. You can probably find them, and I'll go on. I picked these up also. Wonder Woman by George Perez. To me, George Perez wrote the Wonder Woman. I don't think his Wonder Woman's ever been topped. I don't think she ever will. I think this is the purest iconic form of her, and there are feminist traits through this. This is like he was on the book from '87 to God. When did he come off that book? 92 or something like that. 91. I don't know. But I love his Wonder Woman book. Doctor Fate. Yes, yes. And George Perez ended up. This is where Marv Wolfman really encouraged him, saying, "You can do it and become a writer." It's clunky at times. He goes overboard a little bit, trying to describe things every now and then. But it's a matter of him doing some great work, and you're watching somebody develop as a writer, and he put a lot of work into it. So anything that I found clunky about his writing was somebody trying too hard, which is so much better than somebody half-assing it, which is why I give his writing a pass. It doesn't need much of a pass. George Perez can pull some stuff out. So where are we at here? Where are we at? I've been talking. Make sure I'm not covering up anything over here. All right, guys. So some 50-cent books. Now I just have one issue. Issue 13 and 14 of the original official handbook of the Marvel Universe. The last 2 issues were characters that were dead, the appendix of the dead characters. John Byrne cover. It's a wraparound cover. If you took it with the other one, it would make a skull design behind all the characters. If you see this black here, that's actually an eye of a skull, the outline of it. You know what I mean? But I reread 13 and 14, and issue 15 was Elliot R. Brown came in. And apparently, this guy has some engineering background, but it showed you how all the weapons worked for everybody. Iron Man, his armor. He would explain, he would sit there and show you diagrams of Peter Parker's web shooters and Captain America's shield and stuff. But issue 13 and 14 were all the dead characters. And for some reason, I read and reread those to where I still have the originals, but they are beat up. They are off the staples and stuff. I read them so much, I would check mark characters where I either had their deaths or their first appearance and pencil in them and stuff like that. I'll never give those up. I've got books here where I can show you where I did the work. So I'm always picking up upgrades of these. So I just need number 14, the second issue of the Dead. The characters that are retired, inactive, dead, and the inactive, if you will. Airwalker to Moonwolf. Good stuff. Kind of like the Iron Man manual and the Punisher armor series issues. Yeah, yeah. And it's a whole issue of that. Hawkeye, it explains how Hawkeye's arrows don't fall out of his, Looking back through those handbooks of the Marvel universes, yeah, everybody should go through those. Everybody should have a freaking Who's Who collection and an official handbook of the Marvel universe. I got one more comment from Paula that's going to have to come back up. All right, so for 50 cents, I always pick this up. Some great Frank Bruner artwork. Frank Bruner, for you guys, Howard the Duck artist, Doctor Strange artist and stuff. But Alien World PC book, I want to say this was Pacific Comics. I can't remember. But this is from the early to mid 80s. I always recommend these books. One of the guys who seems to have been like the indie writer, I guess, in these books back in the day at First Comics and stuff, was a dude named Bruce Jones, who became famous in the late 90s, early 2000s for his Hulk. How many of those dead characters have been brought back and killed again and brought back again? Quite a bit. Probably all of them at some point. Now you're talking. Yeah. Somebody who's really into this stuff, right? These are great sci-fi books. These are cheap. These are fun. I highly recommend Alien Worlds. I've yet to read an issue, and I have to find them here and there. You know what I mean? I just kind of keep an eye on them. I had this in a series called Vanguard that I think are just fantastic. They'll have Steve Rude, Frank Bruner, Neil Adams. They'll have people you just didn't know did some indie stuff. Just great stuff there. All right, Flash Gordon. Now, when I bought this one, 50 cents, a gold key. It would be nice if today's Marvel writers would take a peek at the old handbooks. It'd be nice if today's Marvel writers would just read comics from back in the day. Vanguard Illustrated. Scott Connor's right there with me, which does not surprise me, man. All right, but Alien Worlds deserves a trade paperback, but it must be a lot of work getting all the rights to reprint the art. Yeah, yeah, which is why I just grab them and they're cheap. Flash, he'll save every one of us. Yep, yep. Then maybe Arcade and Taskmaster wouldn't be in every other issue. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, but I love my favorite line of Flash Gordon comics is from King Features in the late '60s. I think that's what it was called. I'm always trying to look for those. But these are the Gold Key Whitman comics of Flash Gordon. These were the books where they had gorgeous covers, man, but you never knew what you were going to get inside. Yeah, the Al Williamson Flash Gordon books are the bestest, and those were the ones from the King features of the late '60s. I only have two or three of those, and then I have three or four copies of one issue, and each one's a higher grade and stuff, right? But I always grab my Flash Gordon. I've told the story that Flash Gordon, that movie from 1980, that was my Empire Strikes Back. I did not get to see Empire Strikes Back, but I sure as hell got mad about it and took off down the railroad tracks with a friend, walked 3 miles, pocket full of change when I was 7 on a Sunday, and I watched Flash Gordon. So between that and the cartoon series that was on Saturday morning, which I have on DVD, never stood a chance. I never stood a chance. All right, a book I'm piecing together. It was only 4 issues, but it's Big Man Plans. This is by Eric Powell. Why it came out under Image, I have no idea. Maybe it's because it was so violent. Dark Horse didn't want it. If I had to guess, I don't know. But this book right here, man, oh, what's that? What's that? They did a remake of an old movie with The Rock, Walking something Walk. I can't remember. Walking Tall or something like that. Imagine that with a midget. Only read the Flash Gordon comic strip. ZZ Top just watched Flash today. Got me a pocket full of change. That's funny. But yeah, this is just like a revenge story with a dwarf, if you will, and remembering stuff that his dad did. This dude was set on fire and thrown in a lake and beat up, and he just keeps coming back with like, I mean, it's just a brutal, brutal book. Okay, so this odd thing happened to me earlier in the year or late last year. What are the odds for a proper Silver Surfer movie? Anything can happen now, man. I mean, we've got comic book movies making billions of. If Captain Marvel can make $1 billion, anybody can make $1 billion if you just put it in between two good movies. But anyway, with the way that with the Disney Fox deal and anything like that, I think anything's possible now. I mean, I have seen characters pop up on the silver screen I never thought I would. I've been blown away one more and more times. So I no longer I don't know how to explain this. It's not that I no longer. It's not. I'm not saying I'm not skeptical or would. 3 words: ambush bug movie. Ambush bug movie would be cool. Everybody would discover the first Deadpool, if you will, when it comes to running your mouth and stuff, right? Breaking that fourth wall. But a Silver Surfer movie would be a no-brainer to me. No-brainer to me. I mean, if the Marvel, we got the Disney getting all the Fox movie rights back, whatever. We got our Fantastic Four and our X-Men going to them. They have plans for movies and stuff like that, but I'm never going to say that it's not going to happen. I mean, they're doing the Eternals for God's sake. You know what I mean? This some of the stuff I'm hearing. I'm like, if they're going to mine that stuff, what are they going to do when they get the real good stuff from the Marvel universe? You know what I mean? Oh man, I mean, going with Thanos was a stroke of genius. Don't get me wrong. Walking tall with a midget. Well, I'm sold. There you go, Kid Ragnarok. That's it. That's it. That's the movie. But like I said, last year or something, I mean, I was always kind of remembered the advertisement of that Jim Lee put up, or whoever drew this that was in the comics at the time, right? This is probably 1988, 87. Okay. But it was the Dream Queen came in, right? Jim Lee had started at Marvel, with issue 51 of Alpha Flight, and all of a sudden, if you can see it, this is just a picture of her face and that crown and the green hair. And for some reason, it was a striking image. Well, for some reason, I'm wanting to get every issue of Appearance of the Dream Queen, Nightmare's daughter. Now, why would you cast a pall over a perfectly good stream by mentioning the Captain Marvel movie? My apologies. Maybe I was caught in the moment. Yeah, I was caught in the moment. Maybe deep down, I'm like, if you want to make a cosmic Marvel movie, of course it should be Silver Surfer. I don't know, passive aggressive. I apologize. All right. So when this came out back in the day, this was a 4-issue miniseries, and somehow this oversized square bound book from Epic Comics was on the newsstand. I don't know how this happened, right? But this is Havoc and Wolverine. I think it's Walt Simonson, John J. Muth, Louise Simonson, and Kent Williams. Kent Williams. There you go. That's enough said there. Came out this 4-issue miniseries where it was just Havoc and Wolverine on the road, and everybody was getting this. Yeah, the meltdown issues, right? People were getting this and they were just looking over the art, and it was so different. And Wolverine had that hair where it looked like he had the hair gel in it, lots of product. There's even a joke Chris Claremont did where Wolverine got that hair back while looking in the mirror and said that gel looked good on the road. You know what I mean? But this made some waves. I've never known it to be worth anything, but this book really got a lot of attention because of the art, and basically it comes down to Wolverine's hair. That's all anybody remembers. Wolverine had the floppy dog ears hair. But I got it because I like John J. Muth. Now I got this because I'm a huge John Buscema fan. Sometimes I'm a completist. If I see things, I will definitely get it just to complete it. At that time, that was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen done with superheroes. Yes, that's exactly people that dented people's brains. It's definitely in their head. But anyway, Avengers Forever, which was just, I tell you what, you better be an Avengers fan if you get this 12-issue miniseries that Kurt Busiek did. This whole point of this Avengers Forever miniseries, I remember Meltdown ads and issues of Epic. Never read it though. Guess I will one day. I read it when it came out. Nothing really sticks. Just the art was really weird. And now that I think about it, the third and fourth issues may or may not have come out on the stands. Right? I mean, number 4 I never saw on the stands. We got issue 1 and 2. I always kind of wonder if it was a mistake or if Wolverine was just that big. I don't know. It's one of those books you're like, how did this happen? Well, how did they pick Havoc? But anyway, Avengers Forever, if I'm remembering right, what issue of X-Men was it where Wolverine had to bar fight? Oh, God. That's my favorite issue of X-Men. I want to say 179. I don't know. Avengers Forever was the first comic that I waited for the trade. I thought it would make look great on my bookshelf, and it does. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Avengers Forever is definitely just the book for if you are a huge fan of the Avengers, because the whole point of it was to clean up some timeline issues, continuity issues, and they made this great story at the same time. But it's a lot of work and a lot of reading and a lot of setup and a lot of background. And of course, the reason I got this is a variant cover, one of 2 covers. And of course, we get the Rawhide Kid, Two Gun Kid. Oh my God, I want to blank on the other one. But we get our Cowboys, Nighthawk maybe. But the Rawhide Kid, Two Gun Kid, and Kid Colt. There we go. And this dude was always my favorite when I read the reprints back in the day. He sort of, and looking back on it, it's because he sort of had, even though it was a straight cowboy story, he still had a secret identity. So they kind of made him a superhero of the Wild West, Two Gun Kid. Now, the Comic Con, the little micro, okay, Wolverine had a great bar fight in X-Men 182 when Colossus got drunk to pick a fight with the Juggernaut. That's it. X-Men 182. Yeah, I was just sorry, man. I was just caught off guard with that. Mark Grunwald would have been proud. An entire epic miniseries just so they can clean up continuity. That's how I remember it. It was a Kurt Busiek written story, right? All right, I'm getting some messages here. We're gonna have to wrap it up, but we'll be able to do that. We're almost through the stack here. Okay, guys. So anyway, the microcon that I went to was actually in a brewery. Now, if I'd known that, I would have pushed for us to get there early. And the con just lasted 4 or 5 hours. I mean, there's still cosplayers there, but there's people in there drinking. You had to work in between them. It was dark in there and not a lot of room, but it was still kind of a fun con because everything was cheap. But I never would have got this. I bought these off the stand right when Infinity Gauntlet was over with, right? Warlord and Infinity Watch. And I'm not saying I regretted getting rid of them, but they were fun, and I figured 50 cents for a number one. But where it was dark, you didn't see the condition this was in, right? So this isn't getting bagged, and I wouldn't be surprised if I took this thing that's got a split spine, yellow pages, beat up all to hell and stuff like that. If I don't end up doing something with it, it's all fun. Something I couldn't believe for 50 cents, and I'll grab these all day long. Omega the Unknown. This is a Steve Gerber book. Charlton66 out there sent me the trade. Thank you, brother. That I read it complete, and it was amazing. So I pick up issues of this when I find them. But this is number 3, Bronze Age book. But to me, this was Vertigo before there was a Vertigo. Vertigo 20 years before there was a Vertigo, A con in a brewery. Not really a con guy myself, but I definitely go to that. Yeah, that's what I mean. I would have got there early, got a brew. Would have done what, then would have looked for some comics and stuff, man. But anyway, Omega the Unknown was just ahead of its time. That's all there is to it. And I always get the feeling that when I read Steve Gerber stuff that's set in New York and stuff, he hated New York. He always makes it nasty and feels like you need to take a shower and stuff. It was good stuff, man. More Magnolia stuff. I bought this off the stand when it came out back in the day, 1987. So there was a little Midway Groceries is what it was called, and every now and then I would walk about 3 or 4 miles to it just to have something to do, and I would get some Captain Atom and around this era and stuff. And this is just a Paul Cooperberg to me is the kiss of death for a comic if he writes one. I think he's a great editor. I wished he would write comics the way he acts on social media. He would have been the first Garth Ennis. I mean, like the guy missed his calling. We could have had Garth Ennis 20 years before Garth Ennis. But it's the Mike Mignola artwork here. A con at a brewery. Once upon a time, that was combining my two great loves. I would love to have been carried out. Yeah. And we got some more Hellblazer, like I said, for 50 cents. Ashes and Honey. See, this is what I'm saying. Darko McCann. I never heard of this guy. I don't know if he's ever. I don't know what he's done. But anyway, I just needed this issue of Hellblazer, so it'll be cool to read his little run. We got some great Glenn Farby covers from '99. Now, my buddy told me, Anderson told me this. Yes, okay. So my buddy told me this one, man. This Hellblazer special by Garth Ennis, and I think it's Steve Dillon. But this is your Preacher team, brother. Steve Dillon, Garth Ennis, Glenn Farby cover. It's your Preacher team, right? And when my buddy saw this, he warned me. He knows me. He told me this is going to creep me out. I think this plays around with pedophilia or something, which something I will just squash out every time. Too bad Steve Gerber could not finish Omega the way he wanted. Yeah, yeah. So then we got some more Vertigo stuff. I'm really been on a Vertigo kick lately, right? All this is Vertigo, I think, that's left over. Some of this stuff I've had, some of the stuff I'm completing runs, going back. And I completely say it, man. I mean, I'm a positive guy, man. I try to be a positive guy. I get my rants every now and then, but but I stay real with things that I see. Every now and then, I think there's some integrity in that, right? But with the shape of the way comics are now, this Vertigo stuff is so much better than that stuff and cheap and complete and runs and stuff, right? Vertigo now they have what people don't seem to realize that DC is. Last year, Dan Didio seemed to started asking people to not say things, keep things in house when we fix them. So that's why so people would stop making videos and getting online and stuff, right? Oh, Darko McCann is a Croatian writer. I love his El Diablo from Vertigo and a French edition of Sandman Presents he did. Awesome. Great. Always love hearing about new, well, creators I didn't know about or new creators. Love that. Thank you. That's why I love doing this stuff every now and then on YouTube and talking to people, getting to know things that I did not know. That's awesome. Hearing that this writer, like right there, comes with a bit of a recommendation that he has worked in awesome, fantastic. But anyway, Dan Didio did this thing where he kind of asked everybody to keep it in home so people would stop making videos and online stuff or anything like that. And they have quietly brought in a veteran editor to take over the Vertigo books and the Black Label books because they're a freaking mess. So yeah, yeah. So people haven't said that, so maybe they'll get better. But anyway, Books of Magic. I think I need issue 43 and up for the Books of Magic. I had Books of Magic. I looked up, was able to get the Neil Gaiman 4 issue miniseries that each issue had a different painter. Been reading The Big Trouble in Little China. Not too bad at all. Some classics. Jack Burke. Okay, the Big Trouble in Little China comic that came out a few years ago, I actually talked to Eric Powell at Heroes Con about it. He actually hung out with John Carpenter and got to talk to him. And they sit there and they talked about Big Trouble in Little China. So the reason that thing feels like that is because Eric Powell was at the source. A lot of people don't know that Big Trouble in Little China was originally supposed to be a Western. We'll just leave it at that. Anyway, Books of Magic came out of the Books of Magic miniseries that Gaiman did in 1990. And the guy who wrote this book, I think he lives like 2 or 3 hours from me, or he did at the time when he wrote this, North Carolina. And they had to talk him into it, tell him you are good enough to follow Neil Gaiman. And the book is not bad. I mean, it's no Gaiman, nor should it be with him writing it. So yeah, I'm completing that again. I almost had a full run, but I sold some to one of my buddies just so they can complete their run. Need a little bit of money back in the day. Now, Why the Last Man? A book that I will still support, and I still think people should read it because it is even. There are things in here where we have one man on Earth because anything with a Y chromosome died, if you will, except for a man and his monkey, kind of like BJ and the Bear. Kaluda's covers for those Books of Magic issues are fantastic. Yes, they are, man. So I found some early issues because I hear this is going to be a TV show, movie, or something. Issue number one's blown up, all this stuff. So I have some early issues here. Number 10, number 12, 16, number 18, and number 7. Uh, and I read this here and there, but it's even, right? Whenever they talk about the evils of man bringing this on, there's some characters saying, "What did you hear about this?" They talked about the Mary Magdalene things that they did with women who would come to churches that were run by nuns, and they were pretty much slaves. All this stuff. It really brings up an even topic there a lot of times, which is what I like if you're going to get political, right? But anyway, the Why the Last Man, like I said, I've heard it's going to be a show or a movie. Who knows? There's so many things out there right now. But I have a lot of the trades, and this book is loved. Even though the artist on it is a freaking horrible, horrible monster online, I just kind of ignore that because this is some good stuff. But yeah, great stuff. That's a good book. And then, of course, we get down to Preacher, right? I had number one 2 or 3 times over the years, and then it blew up because of the TV show. I got to watch one episode of the TV show, and I'm like, what the hell is this? It was about Hitler hanging out in a diner in the 20s with some girl. I guess they were trying to say how Hitler became Hitler. It was just, I was like, this is awful. I have heard it got better. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, we got some Preacher issues here. What is this? Number 55. I could not believe I found these for 50 cents a piece. I've owned some of these over the years, But Preacher being what it was, I had a huge problem with the concept of what it was. And I had to chill out over the years about it and remember it's a work of fiction. Tulip is probably one of the best characters in there. And then we get to Saint of Killers. I might have this whole series again. I've had it, not have it, had it, sold it. But Saint of Killers, let's face it, the way it ended. This was his book. This was his book. All right, Neil Gaiman has a master class now. I've seen Hans Zimmer's, but I bet Neil's is good too. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to see something positive out there, something that people can use to just pull a little here and pull a little there, and hear some real life stories about the business and writing and stuff. It's always good to have that stuff. That's awesome, man. All right, guys. So basically, it sounds like maybe somewhere on the line we could do a live stream about the ages of comics. When did they begin? When did they not begin? That would be interesting here. Okay, guys. So, like I said, due to the quality of this video, from what I'm hearing out there, being all fuzzy and blurry again, and I'll do a separate video of just showing the comics, and then we'll do another live stream sometime. You guys be cool. Thanks for hanging in there. Like, sub, subscribe, share this thing, all that good stuff.